Okay, hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rubiatuladawiyah, and with my partner today, Husna Humairah binti Abu Bakar, we will be presenting on intralingual errors and also context of language. So, we see the introduction. What is intralingual transfer? So, intralingual transfer is the effect of form of one language, usually the target language. It can be second language or third language on other forms within the same language. Okay? So, we see the differences between interlingual and intralingual. Okay, we see interlingual first. Interlingual transfer is a mother tongue influence causes interlingual errors. They are very frequent at the initial stages of language 2 learning, since the language 1 is the only language system the learners knows and can draw on, and therefore negative transfer takes place. So Browns argues that when one is learning language, third language or fourth language, transfer takes place from all previously learned language, but the degree of transfer is variable. So we see that intralingual errors are result from the second language itself. By James goes into more details. Okay, so we go to intralingual errors. Intralingual errors, we have many types of intralingual errors, but we focus on overgeneralization here. So overgeneralization is the process of generalizing a particular rule or item in the second language, irrespective of the native language, but beyond conventional rules or boundaries. Overgeneralization means that the learner uses one member of a set of forms also in situation when the other members must be used. This usually leads to overuse of one form and overuse of others. So we can see the example. So the overgeneralization of language rule is also common. For example, we see here first, does she can dance? A question formation with do auxiliary. We have does here, and then we also have can. So double auxiliary here. And also, the second we see, he got to class yesterday. It's irregular past tense. Supposedly, he went to class yesterday. Or he goes to class yesterday. He went to class yesterday. Okay? And the third example is she can write English very well. Main verb after model. We see after auxiliary or model, we must, with the singular subject, they must know S at the verb. Okay?
Good evening, and I'm going to continue Ruby's slide. I'm going to explain context of learning. Okay, what is context? Context refers to a number of possibilities, but for us, for linguistic context, it includes surrounding, which means what we learn from our maybe teacher or parents or our friend, or preceding language that could become the cause of difficulties. Preceding means we repeated when someone asks question, and we will repeat some word he or she said. Okay, for example, Carlos said, Adam went to the store, didn't he? And Kenji answered, well, no, he didn't went to the store. Carlos used the right regular past tense, when and didn't, but for Kenji, he repeated the word when because he was affected with the surrounding, with the preceding language before him. He's supposed to say he didn't go to the store. That's the correct answer. Okay, next. That's for our surrounding and before us. And this is for classroom learning. It arises in teacher's talk, materials, or focus on form, which means that when the teacher teach you, or maybe from the material you read, that maybe it's wrong actually, but you learn it for the first time, so for you it is correct. and it can have the learner can make faulty hypotheses about the language, such as false concept by Richard 1971 and induced error set up by Stanson 1974. It can stem from misleading explanation from the teacher, faulty presentation in a textbook, or simply juxtaposition of form. What is juxtaposition? This is a fact of two things being seen or placed close together with contrasting effect, which means, for example, point at and point out it might recall confused because of the contiguity of presentation. Maybe for me, I actually confused about point at and point out. And what does contiguity means? It means that the state of bordering or being in contact with something. Okay, next. Okay, this is for example of contiguity. I think allow me to introduce myself and tell you about some of the headlight of my past. The word headlight is out of place in the context because the learners resort to a more formal style that is warranted, but it also a source of amusement because it's substitute highlights. He's supposed to say highlight, but he confused the word highlight and headlight. Okay, next. This is for social linguistic context of natural. It's untutored language acquisition can produce variety of difficulties by Casper 1992. For example, word-for-word translation. It means that when you want to translate some word from your first language to the second language, you literally translate it. For example, sakit hati. But we translate it to English, liver's hurt, because hati is the literal translation is liver. Okay. And this is another example for this is for idiosyncratic dialect. When for poem, when an author knows the rules of the English language, but he ignore the rules. He want to use his first language rules to do the poem. For example, maybe the rhyme behind it. For English, we don't have to rhyme the end sentences, but for Malay, for example, we have to rhyme it. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Hi.
Okay,